next week is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment. It's going to be our 9/11 moment. It's going to be the hardest moment for many Americans in their entire lives.
Our 9/11 moment. That is the warning from the U.S. Surgeon General as the country deals with a growing number of coronavirus cases. There are more than 330,000 confirmed cases with a nationwide death toll of more than 9,000. There are still medical supply shortages. And on Meet the Press today, Governor Jay Inslee said the federal government needs to get involved with a national mobilization of manufacturing.
But this is ludicrous that we do not have a national effort in this. To say we're a backup, I mean, the Surgeon General alluded to Pearl Harbor. Can you imagine if Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, I'll be right behind you, Connecticut. Good luck building those paddle ships.
Meanwhile, at least 7 governors, including Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas, are refusing to impose statewide mandates intended to slow the spread of the virus. Hutchinson says the actions he's taking are enough. Meanwhile, due to mitigation efforts like telling people to stay home and keeping their distance from others, here in Washington state, we have fewer infections than first anticipated. And the state is returning more than 400 ventilators to the national stockpile for use by New York and other states with more dire situations. During today's coronavirus task force briefing, the president mentioned Washington.
So the state of Washington's done very well. They won't be needing some of the ventilators that have been sent, about 400, that's a lot. And we appreciate that he's able to give them back. He feels confident that they are in good shape for the coming weeks.
Governor Jay Inslee says Washington state recently purchased more than 750 vents, which will arrive over the next several weeks when the state may need them most. Officials emphasize that it is still important that people stay home, still wash their hands, and maintain physical distance from one another. The governor says the state is still a long way from being out of the woods just yet. Today, the State Department of Health confirmed close to 8,000 coronavirus cases. 338 people have died. Of the more than 87,000 people who've taken the test in this state, more than 91% have tested negative. Taking a live look now at CenturyLink Field, where they're almost finished setting up a temporary Army hospital at the stadium's event center. The Department of Defense says the hospital is intended to help relieve some of the burden on the healthcare system, which could become overwhelmed. Here's King 5's Sebastian Robertson.
The team store is boarded up, the streets surrounding CenturyLink Field virtually empty. Inside, soldiers of the 627th Hospital Center and 47th Combat Support Hospital are nearing completion of a mission usually reserved for wartime. This 148-bed facility will soon take non-coronavirus-related patients in an attempt to relieve efforts for local medical facilities. One of many measures underway in Western Washington.
And that's why we need places like this, to keep people out of the hospital if they don't absolutely have to be there, to make sure that the ventilators are available, that the beds and the doctors are available for the people who need that level of care.
Last week, King County officials took a tour of this medical facility, what they're calling an assessment and recovery site. A 140-patient facility spanning 2 buildings in Shoreline that, if activated, will screen and treat people suspected of carrying the virus.
It looks like we've avoided that exponential growth that should be happening right now in the number of infections. It is still growth every single day, and even at that rate that's not exponential, it can overwhelm the medical system.
Back at CenturyLink, 500 soldiers representing 3 posts are in position to set up and run this temporary field hospital. Extreme measures the Army and the county are ready to use in the fight against an invisible enemy. In Seattle, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Look at this. A Maple Valley gas station is going back to the old days during the coronavirus outbreak. The owner of Wilderness Auto Service and Chevron is now pumping gas for his own customers. Eric Van Ruff and his family have owned and operated the Wilderness gas station for 45 years. And he says he knows his customers are worried about the gas handles right now, so he thought about the old days when customers sat in their cars and did not pump the gas themselves. Now he and his employees wear gloves, and they do it for them. They also wash their hands between customers and wipe down the handles, and customers say they appreciate it. The pandemic has already forced some small businesses to shutter. Others are fighting to make ends meet. Our Kristen Ayers found out that the University of Washington is now stepping in to give some small businesses who are struggling a boost in Tacoma.
The streets of downtown Tacoma are virtually empty, but a series of boarded up storefronts on Pacific Avenue bear bright murals, signs of hope in the midst of a pandemic.
You can either be optimistic or pessimistic.
John Crouch, who owns the clothing and accessories boutique Bleach, says he and his wife are trying to stay optimistic. The shop closed its doors March 17th, not long after their landlord, University of Washington Tacoma, shut down the campus and business slowed to a trickle.
We just weren't seeing any traffic, and our employees were saying they'd see 1 or 2 people in a matter of many hours.
Bleach quickly switched to online sales, but Crouch says he and the university's 18 other retail tenants on this strip worried.
One of the things you go to bed at night thinking about is, are you going to make it? How are you going to make it? You know, and these types of scenarios can be, just shut the whole thing down.
That's when he got this email. The University of Washington, as your landlord, is voluntarily waiving your monthly base rent.
That's a really, really great thing.
It means none of UW's 19 Tacoma retail tenants will have to pay their lease rent through the month of May.
To just not have to pay our lease for 2 months so that we can shut the store down, so we can participate in what the governor's asking us to participate in. And knowing that all that product will be there.
In a statement, a UW spokesman said UW Tacoma has an obligation to do what we can to help jumpstart the Pacific Avenue retail sector. It makes good business sense for us and our tenants. Crouch says it's a lifeline that could be the difference between his business surviving or succumbing, at least until June.
We're kind of week to week, month to month, and I guess right now we feel like we have shelter to get us to that point, but at that point is really when it'll become really crucial and scary for all small businesses if they have survived that long.
In Tacoma, Kristen Ayers, King 5 News.
A big change in position for Boeing tonight. The company is not going back to building planes. It's a plan to do this week. The company tells us it has 100 employees out of more than 70,000 who have tested positive for the virus, including 1 fatality. King 5's Glenn Farley now on what changed and where the company goes from here.
The paid 2-week shutdown was supposed to end starting with third shift late this coming Tuesday night. And then this afternoon, everything changed. Not far from Boeing's massive Everett factory, you can see the impact coronavirus is having on the airlines. As one of Boeing's best customers, Southwest, parks more than 60 737s on the ramp of Aviation Technical Services, which normally maintains these jets. Boeing is extending the temporary suspension of production operations at all Puget Sound area and Moses Lake sites until further notice, said the company in a statement issued around 2 o'clock. This is the factory in normal times. While considered the world's largest building in volume, employees often do work in close quarters with common areas for eating meals. The company saying it was already taking measures as it prepared to reopen, including visual marks to maintain social distancing, staggering shifts to avoid crowds when going to or leaving work, more frequent and thorough cleaning where people work and meet.
This order will now be in place through May 4th.
But as Governor Inslee just last week announced he was extending his orders for more than a month, could Boeing have really gone back to work anyway? The company saying Boeing will monitor government guidance and actions on COVID-19. While many Boeing employees can work from home, that's impossible if you're actually building jets. The company telling me that going forward, workers will need to use sick and vacation time to get through. And starting with the new work week, there's likely to be a scramble to find out if this workforce can apply for unemployment under new coronavirus-related programs. In Everett, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.